Hello and welcome to Business Exposed, the podcast which discusses the unfiltered truth along with the reality and day-to-day life of owning a business. Hosted by myself, Alan McMillan and Lynne McMaster. We have a great lineup for you along with lots of different guests from various different sectors. However, today it's all about me and Lynne discussing a wee bit about ourselves and our own journey into business. That way you, the listener, can learn a wee bit more about ourselves. Next week, we launch with our first guest, which will be Vicky Riddler. Needs no introduction. We will talk to you about the reality of business behind the lens of social media. We would appreciate if you could like and subscribe on whatever platform you're listening on, and also if you could share with as many people as possible that you think would benefit from the topics of the podcast. Also, if you could share and tag us in anything on social media, that would be much appreciated as well. So for now, sit back, relax, and let's just get right into it. So, Lynne, your business.
Hi.
Tell us a wee bit about your background before you started your own business. What made you get into your own business and set your own business up?
Okay, so background is sales. I've always been in a customer orientated industry, and I do enjoy speaking to people. I do enjoy meeting people and learning about them, not out of nosiness, just out of, I just find it really interesting. Starting our own business came about because my partner works offshore.
Okay.
He's getting to an age that he's not enjoying it. He wants to be spending more time at home with the kids. We looked at a few different businesses to start with. Some were franchises, one was, I wanted to go into be a funeral director.
Right, okay.
And that's based on certain things that has happened in our life as a young couple, which I won't bore you with. But Grant wasn't invested in that one, which was fine. So we decided to go something that we could do together. It was property.
Okay.
He became a kind of accidental landlord, if you want to call it.
Yeah, I was the
back in the
same.
day.
I was the same.
About 20 years ago, and he wanted to go into the property business. Well, the property kind of down that kind of avenue back then, but listening to everybody and obviously the property crash that we had in 2008, it just didn't happen. So
Put him off.
We're picking it up at this stage in our lives now, which it's actually been quite good fun. It's been a lot of learning, and I think it gives you a new feeling of life, basically. Yeah. You know, at this stage in our lives when things should be kind of calming down.
Yeah.
Or the traditional way, in the traditional sense, things should be calming down for you. Kind of like 55. Things should be a wee bit easier.
You're going the opposite and starting again.
Way. We're like, working all the hours that God sends. But yeah. That's basically the reason behind that.
So what do you think? How's it planned out for you? Is it what you thought it was going to be, like from when you started? Like, this is the vision of owning a business, and this is what my day-to-day life's going to look like. Is that became the reality, or is it actually became something that you never thought it was?
I think I tend to look at things from a simple's point of view, not because I am simple. I just like things uncomplicated and straightforward. So I tend not to make complications when there doesn't need to be any. So I was thinking, go out and view a few properties, put some offers in, get them turned around really quick and sell them. The reality of it is things move quite slowly in the property world.
Yep.
Until you've gone down that legal road and dealing with lawyers and estate agents and going down lots of different viewings. That was a surprise to me, that the journey's been slower than I thought it was going to be. But I've used that time to kind of learn, meet lots of different people that are in the same, of the same mind, which has, pushed us to learn more about ourselves and grow better and grow into the business, if you want to say. Yeah. So it's been good.
Yeah, it is interesting you say that, because I thought the same thing. Again, I'm from a sales background, and like everything is like now. And then when you start getting involved in property, you realise that there is, because of the complexity and the amount of parties involved, between whether it's ourselves, agents, solicitors, and then you're waiting on these people getting back to you. There's quite a lag time between you know, anything
There's
happens.
a lot of moving parts, definitely.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. And people don't see that. Again, I know we've been discussing a lot recently with social media, but especially when you're saying, maybe I'm going to start doing flips. A lot of people just see it on social media. They post, right, bought a property for 50 grand, spent 25 on it, sold it for 100, made 25. But they don't see all the other moving parts behind it, because it looks so simple when you see it like that. But
and that is the simplistic view of it all,
yes,
basically, and that's what people are seeing when they're looking on social media. That's the overview, if you want to say. But it's not until you're in it and you're having to do multiple viewings and you're dealing with different estate agents and all the rest of it that you find that it's actually quite a long, slow process. You know.
Yeah, as you say, there's a financial reward at the end of it.
Yeah.
You know, a good financial reward, providing everything's been structured correctly. But as you say, to get to that, when you've came from a world that's like 100 mile an hour,
that's right.
then it is something you kind of need
frustrating.
It's a bit something you really need to adapt to.
Yeah.
But I mean, I suppose, what do you think? Like, what's the kind of hardest moment, do you think, like, since you've started your own business? There's like been a pinpoint moment where you went, this is a wee bit harder than I maybe thought this was going to be.
I think I've had that exact thought multiple times, and I think when Grant's my partner's obviously, he's offshore just now, still working away, helping us to monetize what we're doing.
Yeah.
So a lot of the onus is on myself here, and you know, you're trying to fit it in, running around school runs, football runs, what your actual life is. Shopping, feeding the kids, keeping on top of a house, walking the dog, all the rest of it still has to get done. You just can't stop all that because you've started a business.
Yeah, 100%.
It all needs to kind of run in tandem with each other. But so those are the bits that's quite hard, because you're so invested at the beginning. You're working double hard. You know, your morning starts like when you're waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning, putting your foot on that floor. That's your day started.
Yeah, 1,000,000%.
It's not like a nice wee wander down to the kitchen, have a nice leisurely breakfast. It's like doof, doof, doof.
Yeah.
You've got viewings lined up for that day, school runs, and all that kind of thing. And you're still trawling through Rightmove at 11 and 12 o'clock at night. And it starts all again at 6 o'clock the next morning.
Yeah.
And there's no such thing as a weekend, because your weekend's spent deciding what you're doing for the following week. You're making sure you're getting viewings set up on the Saturday for your week coming up ahead. So from that point of view, I was thinking, well, this is harder than I thought it was going to be. But there's been enjoyable moments in it. But definitely hard.
It's definitely something that I can put my hand up and say that I definitely got it wrong.
Yeah.
Because I, from my sort of background, already had a couple of holiday homes in the background, and they ticked over nicely.
Yeah.
They were producing a good income. The business was set up, AI was a lot of driving it, so I wasn't really hands-on with it, right?
Yeah.
And it was just great. The money was just coming in from it, right?
Yeah.
So I thought to myself, well, this is great. I just need multiple of these.
Yeah.
And then great. I don't really need to do that much, right? And then I'll just collect the checks, right? And then I realised, like, on day one, how wrong was I? Because I thought, well, that's great. This business will just tick away in the background.
Yeah.
And I can just, start going to see my pals more, go to the gym more, spend time with my children. And then pretty much, that lasted a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Then when I realised there's nobody paying there's no money going into my account at the end of the month, like, this is 100% on me. Then I realised, no, maybe this is not what I thought it was going. That's what was in my naivety on that, just based on that type of business. But then I realised, well, if I continued with that, that's fine. But hold on, again, this is now on me. This business needs to build. Yeah. And the only way that can build is by reinvesting that money, which means there is no money to pay yourself.
Exactly.
And then that's like a reality check right there. Hold on a second here. This is tougher. This is tougher than I thought it was going to be.
I think when I come up against those moments, I just keep thinking of my why at the end of it. And like you've just mentioned, eventually you will be able to go to the gym, and you will be able to spend more time with your pals, and you will be able to put off time with your children and do the things that you want to do with them. But when you're just starting off, the reality of it is that is maybe further away than you originally thought.
a lot further away than you originally thought.
But when those hard days hit, it's it's good to have it as a reminder that, look, it's all for a better cause. And at the end of the day, as long as you're, as I try and remind myself every day, as long as you're having fun doing it, not like you're like wandering about in a high every day, but as long as you're enjoying it and it's not a chore and you're finding it exciting and it's giving you a zest for life and, you know, starting again, then that helps you carry on the next day and get back up at 6 o'clock the next morning with a smile on your face and think, oh, it's all right, I'm starting again. But
100%. You know, probably the day you stop enjoying it is the day you should go back to employment.
Exactly.
Or else what was the point of putting yourself through this hell every day, right? Of what the reality of it is to actually like. But I suppose talking about the income, then how did you or how do you handle? You obviously came from a job where you had a consistent salary every single month, and then you're going from that. I know you still have your partner, but you would have still had 2 salaries then.
Well, so, no, because I had the luxury of being a stay-at-home mum.
Right. Okay.
So my partner always wanted me to be at home for the kids.
Right, okay.
Which was good in itself. You know, it's been an absolute privilege, and I would never do it any other way probably. If you can do it, then absolutely. The only thing that I didn't like about that was you kind of gave up a bit of financial independence.
Yeah.
In as much as you were, you know, having to get your housekeeping from your husband every month and giving it, this is my budget for 4 weeks and how am I going to do it? So that was the only downside of it. But, you know, the upside was that I was getting to spend all the time with the kids because Grant was obviously offshore most of the time, working away quite long periods of time. But I did go back into the world of work for a short spell before I was made redundant. And now I've just got a small part-time job, which is, you know, manageable. It just gives you extra wee bit of pin money. But I don't know how you would do it without having that backup. You know, so Grant's having to still make the sacrifice just now of being away. The end goal is that we'll be earning enough that he will be able to be at home and we'll be able to do it more together. But you know,
well, I suppose on the other side of that's kind of where I'm at, and was certainly at the start, because there's no other income coming in. So for me, it was, and to be fair, still is hard because at the start, I literally had to go. Like the car had to go, right. All the luxuries had to go. The holidays went. The real tight spending had to come in. And you really need to go. It's like getting out all my expenses and going, just like if you were doing your own business, a set of accounts and going, right, what needs to go here?
You're looking through your bank account and thinking, right, what direct debit can I cancel?
100%. What
and
can
scrape together?
100%. But I suppose what you said, if you were a stay-at-home mum, then the kind of skills that you would have learned around that you've just said, like you had to learn to budget. Will be phenomenal skills then going into your own business, because I think that's where a lot of businesses do get it wrong, is they start spending more than they've got coming in.
Than you've got coming in. I think that's
dangerous territory.
It is. Budgeting's a big thing, and I'm not saying that I've got that 100% correct yet, but you know, it's definitely something that you've got to bear in mind when there's unexpected things can happen. You know, where our 2 cars broke down within a week of each other with expensive repairs just 2 months before Christmas, which we weren't expecting. We had 5 properties, a portfolio in legals that came just at that same time that lawyers were needing paid. We also I had bought a property at auction, which was an extra. That all came at the same time. So, you know, there was quite a bit of juggling to do. That was quite a stressful time, definitely, but you find a way. You know, when the onus is on you, you find a way to get through it, and you generally, most things, like I've always said, I think most things in life are fixable other than some really scary health situations. But there's always a way out.
I think you're right, especially with financial. There is a lot of financial pressure, but there is always a way, especially in business, as long as you've got the structure set up correctly, right? Then there is always a way. But again, I know we've been talking about recently about social media, but I suppose that's again the bit that social media doesn't see, because you know social media or anybody outside that may see like, oh, well done, like you've bought a portfolio, you bought this project, you bought that at the auction, well done, multi-millionaire, you must have all this cash, like just buying all these properties. But the reality is what they don't see in the background is like the
juggling act.
Well, you've not got any money left because you've just spent it all buying these things. Whereas that's what people who are not in business seem to think what it actually is. At the second you've got a registered business, right, that is you've absolutely made it now. And it's not for quite a long period of time.
It's a long-term investment, definitely.
1 million%.
So
1 million%.
You've got to bear that in mind, that it's just not going to be a quick 2-week turnaround.
Yeah.
And that money's going to land in your lap again.
Aye, 100%. And there's
quite a lot of strategy goes on in the background.
Yep, you need a strategy for when the strategy goes wrong, especially when the money doesn't land when you think it's going to land. Then you do need a plan B. Sometimes in there. So it's from you. I know you obviously were a stay-at-home mum previously, but obviously you have had job and you still have your part-time job just now as well. Is there anything that you think about, like a sort of corporate life or world of employment for somebody else that think that's really important that you can transfer those skills to working for yourself?
I think everything that you're learning in life is a skill that you're learning all the time, and you're learning it unconsciously, all the time. So any experience that you're having, that's a skill set that you've got already in the bag. And I came from a good work ethic background, from my mum and dad, the upbringing that we had. And I had lots of different wee part-time jobs back in the day. In my day, you were allowed a job when you were 14, other than a paper round. And I was never keen on them. But I've worked in lots of different things. I've worked in hotels, I've worked at car auctions, I've worked at, in the care industry. I've been a travel agent for the best part of my life. Yep. I was a secretary for a little while. So all these things that you're doing all the time, whether you're enjoying them or not enjoying them, you're developing skills around them as you're on that journey. So they're all investments you're making in yourself for going forward. Yep. And it's those experiences that set you up for what you want to try next, which is either taking risks or not taking risks, or trying to start a wee business on your own, or being a little bit entrepreneurial or whatever, or staying in your safe zone of quite happy in a 9 to 5.
And if you do, that is completely fine. That's completely fine.
That's perfectly fine, because it's your journey, and that's great.
100%.
If that's working for you, then that's what you stick at.
I think it's quite interesting what you say there about the multiple jobs that you've done, because I think there's the element of social media can be quite dangerous, in the sense of that there's a lot of young successful people out there, very young successful people out there, who they've made it based on one career. And listen, hats off to you, fantastic. Right, but that isn't everybody. No. And I think there's a danger that some, especially young people, see that and then think that there's a guaranteed route there. Because the danger with that is then that you don't have all those experiences through under your belt, and you don't. It's quite dangerous territory.
It's a false perception, I think, of how your life can be, which is dangerous for the younger element, who maybe don't have a structure in their lives of parents that work, or parents that have got a good work ethic or whatever. So that's where I think social media's got things a little bit more wrong.
100%. Listen, as much as I am glad to be out the corporate world, right? Glad there's certain things that I just would never change back, because these jobs, regardless of whatever your job is, whether it's a kind of low paid job or a well paid job, whatever one you're in, you're going to have structure to that job. And any job or employment does teach you structure, teaches you discipline, teaches you routine, teamwork, how to integrate with other people. And if you are in any management job, then you're getting the ability to be able to manage people, which you're going to need when you start your own business. So it's quite dangerous to start your business without any of that. So as much as, again, personally, I'm only speaking from my own experience, I'm glad as to that I wouldn't like to go back there, but I'm glad I was, because I have been, because it's all you're learning all those things. And if you never done them, if you didn't do that, let's say you said, I'm going to leave, I'm going to go to uni to study one thing, you'd only be learning one subject.
Yeah.
But if you're actually in a job, right, especially in like a kind of management type job, you're learning a lot of different subjects,
Yeah,
right?
all the time.
And you're getting paid to do it.
Exactly.
And then you can use those skills
going forward
elsewhere.
Yeah, I think social skills is the best thing you can learn, and I think that's where education's got it all wrong in schools.
Yeah.
Because they don't spend nearly enough time on developing social skills, and I
Yeah.
think the world would be a much better place if
Yeah.
they had done that.
Yeah.
Spent a little bit more investment in time teaching people how important it is
Yeah.
to be able to, get along and communicate with each other in a positive,
Yeah.
uplifting manner.
Yeah, 100%.
Instead of, what we've got going on in the world now,
Yeah.
it might be a slightly better place.
I would totally agree. I suppose I know we were laughing about it. We spoke the phone the other week, but like me and you would not be sitting here right now if it wasn't for communication skills.
No.
For anybody that's listening that doesn't know, that we met in a queue. I think roughly about a year ago. At the Scottish property meet, right?
Yeah.
Standing in a queue. The queue's massive. You were behind me, and the two of you started talking to each other. And then before you know it, fast forward circa a year down the line, right, then we're sitting here together. But if you didn't even have communication skills, we wouldn't have even spoke to each other in the queue, let alone be here. So you never know. And then I suppose that's where most business does end up transacting from, is from some form of communication.
Yeah.
So if you don't have those skills ingrained into you, and you're not able to speak to people, then you're probably going to find business
kind of
tough.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, for obviously between us starting this podcast, what are you hoping to achieve out of this? Like, what are you hoping that the listeners achieve from? So obviously we've got a lot of good guests lined up.
Yeah.
Vicky Riddler's going to be our first. Then what are you hoping for? I suppose for the listeners to be able to achieve out what we're going to discuss.
I think for me is that I'm still learning a lot about business. I've been in a business world, and I've started a business on my own, which is a completely different kettle of fish altogether. And I'm learning every day. I'm learning new things and new skills. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
I'm also, from my own personal point of view, I'm looking at me as, stay-at-home mum. Not as young as I used to be, 55. And I'm thinking, why not try something new to give you, who says you can't do it?
Yeah.
It's only you that says you can't do it. And if you think you can do it, then I would try to encourage everybody to give it a try.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that rubs off on an element of our audience.
Yeah. Hopefully.
So Alan, do you think property picked you, or did you pick property?
Property definitely picked me. To get an idea, I get into this by complete accident. So obviously, as we kind of discussed, I was in my job in the motor trade. I knew I didn't want to do that as my career. Like I got to a point where I realised like this isn't for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I was kind of in a wee bit of a trap, right? I actually believe just now I'd have been better off in a job that was minimum wage, right? Because I would have had options, right? I could have transferred to another job of a similar salary. But the issue is that I was in a job that was quite well paid, and then my lifestyle had become accustomed to that. So I was almost trapped to a degree. Mm-hmm. So I knew that like, listen, I need an out, right? But what that out was, I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
Long story short is I was then working up in Dundee. We had a branch up there. I was a sales manager on that branch up there. And then obviously the commute was getting too much. So I bought a wee flat up there, and I thought that'll kind of counterbalance with the travelling and stuff. I was then asked, like I think maybe a couple of years later, to go back to the Glasgow branch. So I then just rented it out. So for anybody in property who does know, I'm now an accidental landlord. And then the rest of my family, etc., now think, like I'm a property guy, right? Because I've got one property which I'm basically like renting out, right? So fast forward a wee bit of time, my grandparents moved to Rila Butte like about 30 years ago. They stayed in this really, really nice old converted church manse. It was converted into 6 flats.
Oh, boy.
The lady at the top I was renting out as an Airbnb. She then said to my gran, I don't know how the conversation came about, she said to my gran, oh, here's your grandson, he's this property guy. I'm not a property guy, right? I'm not a property guy at this point in time, right? That's maybe where the name the property guy came from, actually, but I'm now, but I certainly wasn't then, right? So she's basically said to my gran, oh, would your grandson want to buy this? She's had the conversation with me. I've said absolutely not, right? Because it's like a holiday home. I don't know anything about holiday homes. How can I manage a holiday home when I'm in this job and I'm never even about blah, blah, blah. Long story short, it did come to something, right? I then bought it. and then it kind of opened my eyes a wee bit. And that was the point I realised, hold on, this is my out, right? Because I realised, hold on, this, you can make quite a wee bit of money in these.
Yeah.
Then I realised, hold on, I actually only maybe need a couple of these, and then I can then maybe leave this job.
Yeah.
At the time, I started off really thinking, well, that could be my pension, that sort of stuff. But then I realised, hold on, this could actually be income replacement, and I could actually set a business up with this. So I suppose to answer your question, I never thought I was going to end up in property. I didn't have a clue what I was going to do. I knew I wanted to leave that previous job. And I suppose it goes back to that phrase, the stars align, and the stars aligned for me to be in the right place at the right time to kind of get involved. But
it's funny how life just kind of carries you along, and opportunities. As long as you're moving, I think opportunities can kind of come your way. So,
and when you get the opportunity, you need to either decide you taking it or not taking it. Don't take it for a good reason, and take it for a good reason.
That's right.
But don't just take it because it's an opportunity.
That's right. Yeah, and you've obviously had good motives to want to make something of it, and that's probably spurred it on that little bit further.
Yeah, 100%.
It's already given you a different lead off, starting your podcasts.
Yeah.
Do you think it's highlighted any other avenues of business that you might like to try?
It will do. Certainly just now, there's a couple other businesses that we've got setting up. One of them's a holiday management business, which is a complete different take on what I'm used to. Because I'm used to managing my own properties and running my own wee operation. Now we're going to be running somebody else's operation at quite a scalable size. So I never thought I would go down that route. So in the future, most definitely. My brother-in-law, he's got a deli just now, and that's his kind of first business,
right?
And he's looking at other ventures, and we're discussing doing things together. So as it stands right now, everything that I've got on the go, although might be slightly different businesses, they're still kind of property related.
Yeah.
But I would like to definitely in the future explore other avenues. I can't do the same thing for a long period of time. It's probably quite evident from like my previous career, even like in sort of like in a corporate employment world. As we said earlier on, I've been a chef. I was working down in London for a job. I done door-to-door sales. That was really good. That taught you a lot of like key fundamentals of sales, and it taught you how to experience rejection at a mass scale, by the way. I've done quite a lot of different jobs, so I would like to just see where this transpires.
Yeah. Well, it's already transpired into the podcast world. And,
I know.
There's different arms that it can go to. And one thing that I've learned in property is that there's so many different strategies that it can open up other doors.
Yeah, 100%.
Do you think it'll be a family venture? You've got young ones?
I don't know. I mean, listen, I would love to say it will be, because let's be honest, every parent would love their child to do what you're doing. Especially if you're really passionate about what you do. So I try and bring the kids on any viewings I can. I try to get them involved with as many kind of things as I can, even if it's something simple, but anything that's related to the business, I try to bring them on that journey. So if I was to, in an ideal world, I would love to. I mean, at the end of the day, the name of the company is a mixture of mine and my two children's names.
Yeah.
So I would like to bring them on the journey with me. However, the same point, whatever they choose to do is up to them. But
you'll not railroad them into it.
I'll not railroad them into it, but I'll try a wee bit, right? Maybe I will try a wee bit, but if they choose to do their own paths in life, then I suppose we need to be respectful that that's what they want to do. But in an ideal world, I would like it to be, because I've got although my kids are only young, they're only 4 and 5, I've got a great relationship with them, especially my oldest. Then I've got a great relationship with them. So the reason I would like it to be a family business is because I could continue that relationship, and you see them every single day. Obviously, I know your kids are a wee bit older in school and stuff like that, but so you're not seeing them and interacting with them as much. So, but I thought if I could bring them on the journey when we're older, you can't buy back time. So if I could, have a wee bit of time extra spent with them, that's kind of my thinking. But I'll be respectful if they don't want involved. Then
it's good to have a plan B. I think sometimes, even with kids, when you're a parent, I think sometimes your thoughts are, we've got a wee plan B for them. If things don't work out for them, then they've got somewhere that they can come.
Yeah, 100%.
So that's another a different angle on it.
Yeah, I think what you just said there is very, very important, because I know we discussed and I wish some of the things that we discussed before we were recording we'd actually recorded, but when you were talking about like kind of mental health and things like that, I think that's a really good thing to say to your children, like, you can always come home.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
No matter how bad it is, no matter what you've done, no matter what financial position you're in, like, there is you can always come home, and like, we'll find
there's somewhere for you to go.
There's somewhere for you to go, and whatever it is, we'll sit down and we'll sort it.
Yeah.
You know, like, I think it's really important to instill that.
Absolutely. There's never a reason not to. The only way you'll solve something is by communicating. If you can't communicate and reach out to your own family, there's something wrong.
Yeah.
There's something not right.
100%.
Your last question then would be, what top 3 lessons have you learned that would maybe help anybody else listening who's maybe not left their corporate job yet, but have been sitting thinking about it and have been putting it off?
Okay, the top 3 lessons, I would probably say, first of all, I don't know if it's a lesson or a skill you require, or a combination of both. I apologise for the swearing, right? But you need to have the ability to get shit done, right? Yeah. Like, that's a fact, right? Do not consider going into business, right, if you do not have the ability to just get shit done, right? Yeah. Because you know, you can't panic, right? No. You're going to, when you're entering into a business, what you're actually entering into is a whole world of unsolved problems. Yeah. And your job,
well put.
Your job as a business owner or an entrepreneur, however you want to doctor that up, is your job is to solve problems. Yeah. So if you're a panic merchant, right, if you're not good at solving problems, right, in the nicest possible way, stick to what you're doing. Yeah. Right? If you're somebody who's in your job and is amazing at solving problems and is cool, calm and collective, and can strategize solutions, then I would probably consider that you should maybe, you know, look into because you've got skills that you're donating to somebody else. Yeah. You know, for somebody else's empire. Yeah. So why not then donate those useful skills to yourself? Probably a second thing I would say is that you need to have the ability to understand that you need to scale your lifestyle back in order to move forward. Yeah. Especially, as I said, the job I came from was a good job and it was well paid. So I am respectful that not everybody who will start a business will come from that type of job. They might come from a job where they weren't. But regardless of what you were, you need to scale back to move forward. Yeah. You need to sit, as we said earlier, and go, right, what can be taken away here, right? Because
sacrifices need to be made.
100%. And see if you're somebody who has to go there 3 holidays a year, has to drive a fancy car, right? And I suppose that kind of leads me on to number 3 as well. I suppose the two of them are quite linked. You need to be able to sacrifice your pride, right? Because I went from driving, I've had really nice company cars. We had a really nice Land Rover. I've always had nice cars, like within my family circle. Yeah, that's my thing. I don't drink. I don't like alcohol. Yeah. I don't drink. I don't smoke. Cars has always been my thing. So I've always been known within my circle as the guy that has a nice car, right? Yeah. And that had to go, right? I had to go to having no car, right? And then not even that. I borrowed a guy, long and short, a guy who had a unit next to my dad's. He was retiring. He had this old van. It's like 25 years old, right? It used to be red, right? It's washed out, half it's pink now, right? It's like rust all over it, right? And I drove that for a period of time, and it was tough, right? Yeah. Because I'm like, people's perception is when you start a business that on day one you have automatically made it, right?
Yeah, you've been a success.
Yeah, and in day one you've not even made a penny yet, right? So I think the other things, you need to be able to swallow your pride and see the long-term picture, right? Because you need to go, as I said, I appreciate not everybody's lifestyle may be like that, but regardless of what it is, you will have some luxuries in your life that you will need to give up, and you will have that wee voice in your head thinking that these people think I'm a success, but I know I'm not a success at this point in time. Yeah. And you need to have that wee voice to be able to just to override that and go, well, I'm in for this for the long term here, and I know that I'm doing the right thing. I'm not selling my car and going without a car and driving this old van or whatever that looks like for you for nothing. Yeah. If I thought this was the long term game, no, I wouldn't be doing it. But if I know this is like just a short term bit of sacrifice and pain here,
Yeah.
right? Then
For the greater good.
For the greater good. But I think that's why a lot of people don't want to start a business. I think because I don't think people want to go, oh, do you know what? No, I'm not doing that.
Without.
I don't want to go out. I'm not doing that, right? But you know what? It's only a couple of years in your life, right? I mean, I don't know what the average age is, right? But it's more than a couple of years anyway, right?
Yeah.
So, like, whatever that age is, right? It's like, why would you want to do all that stuff to get to the retirement age to have nothing at the end of it?
Yeah.
And I seen that quite a lot when I was in the motor trade, and I think it's certainly a shame. I think it's a disgrace that certain people of a certain age back then were told, listen, you just work and then you cash in your pension and don't worry, the government will look after you. I think it's a disgrace that people were told that, because those same people, when I was in the trade and they're coming out to sell a car and you seen them and you're asking their budget and it was pennies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that is a like shame that some people have got to that age, right? And some people through their own fault, granted. But there's a lot of people who, because that's just what the system told you.
Yeah.
And the system doesn't tell you, back to the question, that if you want to start a business, here is all the tough things you're going to need to do in order to get to the overall picture.
End game. Yeah.
So get shit done.
Yeah.
Don't panic. Scale back your lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
And if you do all that, listen, I'm still there.
Yeah.
I'm still there. Admittedly, I'm still at the early stages of my own business. And that's, I suppose, for me, a wee bit what I'm wanting to get out of the podcast. The guests we've got lined up are from different sectors. There's loads to learn, and we'll learn that right at the coalface and then be able to put that into my own business. So as I said, I'm still there. I'm by no means the finished article. I'm in the early stages of my business. And trust me, I'm still at that painful stage. But yeah, I think people need to. I think it needs to be spoke about more. That you're not a. Listen, there is overnight
success from day one.
There is overnight successes. There is the people that upload a video on TikTok and they go like that bang overnight. But that's like the minority rather than the majority. This is the majority of wanting to have a nice life in the later. This is the tough part you need to go through.
Yeah, and it can be as hard or as easy as you want it to be, but I think putting in the hours is essential. And being able to go out your comfort zones and laugh about it is also important, because you will make mistakes, and you've got to realise that going into it as well. So hopefully from Business Exposed, we've highlighted some good points there. And you'll learn more on the journeys going forward.
Hopefully. We'll learn more in the journey
absolutely.
Together.
And welcome it. Otherwise, what's the point?
100%. 100%. Welcome it. That'll be our parting words. Well, myself and Lynne, we'll put our social handles on the link below. I'd appreciate anybody who gives us a wee like, a wee follow, share this with your friends, family, anybody that you know that may think would be benefit from any of the topics, the conversations. And,
or may be a guest.
Or a guest. If you've got somebody that you know, whether you think you would be a good guest to discuss with us, or you know somebody with a good guest, then certainly link in with myself or Lynne and we'll have you in the show. If not, we appreciate you listening to us.
Right. Till next time.
Till next time.